Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract financial problems like a magnet? No matter how much they earn, it's never enough. No matter how many opportunities appear, there's always a hole in their pocket. What if I told you this isn't bad luck, isn't lack of effort, and definitely isn't divine punishment? Welcome to the second car of the quantum gate. I'm the quantum architect, and today we're going to explore something most people don't even know exists: the neurological addiction to scarcity. Yes, you heard that right. Addiction, as in chemical dependence. Your brain might literally be addicted to not having enough. And to unravel this mystery, I've summoned minds to the quantum car who understand both psychology and quantum reality. Carl Jung is here to show us how scarcity lives in our collective unconscious. Alan Watts will teach us about the paradox of trying to control the uncontrollable. Jordan Peterson will dissect the neurology of fear. And Carl Rogers will remind us of the radical acceptance necessary for change. So take a deep breath, because what you're about to discover in the next few minutes might be uncomfortable. But it's precisely this discomfort that will set you free. Let's start with the obvious that nobody sees. Think about the last time you received unexpected money: a bonus, a tax refund, a gift, or even a salary raise. What was your first reaction? If you're like most people, it was something like, "Great, now I can pay that overdue bill, or fix the car, or buy that thing I've needed for months." See? The first reaction wasn't expansion. It was plugging holes, solving emergencies, returning to a state of precarious stability. And here's the kicker that Hélio Couto always emphasizes: your brain isn't programmed to thrive, it's programmed to survive. And survival, by definition, is managed scarcity. Now Carl Jung enters the car to show us something profound. Jung dedicated his life to studying the collective unconscious, that ancestral database we all share. And you know what he discovered? For millions of years of evolution, scarcity wasn't a psychological problem. It was reality. There wasn't enough food, water, shelter, safety. The humans who survived were those who developed constant hypervigilance for danger and lack. Those who relaxed were eliminated by natural selection. So it's engraved in your DNA. The world is dangerous and resources are limited. Save, protect, prepare for the worst. Jung called this an archetype, a universal psychic pattern that shapes our behavior even when we're not conscious of it. The scarcity archetype is so deep, you don't even realize it's commanding your financial decisions. It's like an app running in the background on your phone, draining battery without you knowing. And here's the part that will make you rethink everything. This archetype isn't real in an objective sense. It's a collective mental construction, but it's so powerful that it creates the reality it claims to describe. It's what Jung called an unconscious self-fulfilling prophecy. Alan Watts appears in the car with that serene smile only he has and says something that seems crazy at first. The problem isn't scarcity. The problem is your attempt to escape scarcity. Wait, what? Watts explains with a simple metaphor. Imagine you're in quicksand. What's your instinct? Fight, struggle, try to get out with force. And what happens? You sink faster. Scarcity works the same way. The more you fight against it, the more energy you spend trying to not run out of money, the more you reinforce the vibrational frequency of lack. It's like trying not to think about a pink elephant. The act of trying to avoid something makes it more present. Watts had an Eastern view of reality. For him, everything is flow. Nature doesn't accumulate. Water doesn't say, "I'll save some here just in case." It flows. When there's space, it fills. When there isn't, it moves on. And nature, curiously, never goes bankrupt. But we humans, with our evolved minds, decided we can control the flow. And so we create dams, barriers, reservoirs. We create the idea of mine and yours. We create artificial scarcity, and then we become addicted to it. Because look, If you always expect things to go wrong, you develop a kind of morbid comfort in it. It's predictable, familiar, controllable in a twisted way. Prosperity, on the other hand, is unpredictable, scary, unknown, and your reptilian brain prefers a known hell to an unknown paradise. Now, Jordan Peterson enters the car with neuroscientific data that will connect all the dots. Peterson deeply studied the neurology of stress, fear, and social dominance hierarchy. And he discovered something disturbing. Your brain has a financial thermostat. It's called your economic comfort set point. Here's how it works. Your hypothalamus, along with your prefrontal cortex, constantly monitors your resource level. Not just money, but social status, perceived, safety, social connections. And when you're inside this thermostat's comfort zone, your brain relaxes. When you leave this zone, whether up or down, alarms go off. That's right, up too. If you've always had $2,000 in your account and suddenly have $20,000, your brain doesn't celebrate. It panics. This isn't normal. This isn't safe. I need to return to familiar. And then you sabotage, spend impulsively, make bad investments, lend to people who won't pay back. Unconsciously, you destroy the excess to return to the known set point. Peterson calls this internalized dominance hierarchy. You see yourself at a certain level of the social pyramid. And when something tries to move you from that level, there's brutal internal resistance. This is why lottery winners often return to poverty. It's not lack of character, it's neurology. Their brains weren't reprogrammed for the new set point, so it actively works to restore the previous balance. And here's the most sinister part. Scarcity releases dopamine. Yes, you read that right. When you're in survival mode, solving emergencies, putting out financial fires, your brain releases small doses of dopamine with each problem solved. It's the same mechanism as a video game. Challenge, effort, reward, challenge, effort, reward. You become addicted to the drama of scarcity. And no matter how much you rationally want prosperity, emotionally you feel alive in financial turbulence. It gives you purpose, identity, a story to tell. Oh, you don't know the month I've had, but I managed to get by. There's a distorted pride in that, a feeling of heroism, of resilience. And your brain learns scarcity equals relevance, prosperity equals boredom. Carl Rogers now enters the car, bringing a perspective of radical compassion. Rogers was a humanistic psychologist who believed judgment is the greatest obstacle to change, and he would tell you something important now. Don't blame yourself for being addicted to scarcity. This isn't a character flaw. It's conditioning. You didn't choose this consciously. It was programmed by generations of ancestors, by your family of origin, by a society that values struggle over flow. But here's the good news. What was conditioned can be deconditioned. Rogers developed person-centered therapy based on a simple principle. Unconditional acceptance creates the space for transformation. So stop fighting with yourself. Stop judging yourself for repeating destructive financial patterns. This internal resistance only feeds the addiction. Instead, observe, acknowledge, accept that yes, you have a neurological addiction to scarcity. And that's okay. It's human. It's understandable. And paradoxically, it's this acceptance that opens the door to change. Because as long as you resist what is, you're locked in what is. When you accept what is, you create space for what can be. So here's your first challenge before we move to the next chapter. I want you to do something simple but profound. Get a piece of paper and a pen, or open your phone's Notes app, and complete this sentence 10 times. I feel safe when... Don't think too much. Let the answers flow. It could be, I feel safe when I have money saved. It could be, I feel safe when I have a plan. It could be anything. The goal isn't to judge the answers, it's to map your current psychological safety system, because until you understand what makes you feel safe now, you can't reprogram to a new paradigm. Do this before going to the next chapter. And if you're feeling that discomfort, that wow, this is exactly what I do, great. That means you're waking up. And if you want to go even deeper into this journey of quantum reprogramming, access the link in the description. There you'll find exclusive materials and protocols to accelerate your financial transformation. But for now, do the exercise. Now, we'll explore how scarcity disguises itself as virtue. If you did the exercise from the previous chapter, you probably discovered something interesting. Most of your sources of security are linked to control. Control the future, control spending, control variables. And here's the cosmic irony. The need to control is born from fear, and fear is the vibrational frequency of scarcity. So you're trying to escape scarcity using exactly the energy that creates it. It's like trying to put out fire with gasoline. But today we're going deep into something even more subtle and dangerous: the spiritual masks of scarcity. Because the addiction to scarcity is clever. It doesn't show up shouting, "I'm an addiction." It disguises itself as virtue, as spirituality, as humility, and that's why so many awakened people remain poor. Alan Watts returns to the car to tell us a real story that happened to him. In the 1960s, Watts gave lectures on Eastern philosophy to American audiences, and one of the most common questions he received was, "If detachment is so important in Buddhism, does that mean I should give up money, live simply, reject materialism?" And Watts would respond with that ironic smile of his. Do you see the contradiction? You're so attached to the idea of detachment that you're willing to sacrifice your quality of life for it. That's not detachment. It's disguised attachment. Think about that for a moment. True detachment isn't rejecting money. It's not being controlled by the fear of having or not having money. But our Western culture, influenced by centuries of medieval Christianity, created a powerful narrative. Poverty is holiness. Wealth is sin. The camel and the needle. The meek shall inherit the earth. And look, I'm not criticizing authentic Christian spirituality. I'm pointing out how these ideas were distorted to create a mental prison. Because if you believe, even subconsciously, that being poor makes you more spiritual, more humble, closer to God, then you'll sabotage any real attempt to prosper. Not from lack of effort, but from unconscious loyalty to a distorted ideal. Carl Jung returns to the car to expand this point. Jung deeply studied the world's religions and mythologies, and he noticed a pattern. In almost all traditions, there's a phase of descent into the underworld. The hero must lose everything to find their true nature. Christ in the desert, Buddha renouncing the palace, Job losing everything. And this is true at the archetypal level. You need to go through the death of the ego to be reborn in expanded consciousness. But here's the fatal mistake millions of people make. They confuse the journey with the destination. Voluntary poverty can be a learning phase, an initiation, a temporary spiritual test, but it's not meant to be a permanent lifestyle. Christ didn't stay in the desert forever. He came back with power, with purpose, with the capacity to feed multitudes and transform realities. Buddha didn't starve to death. He found the middle way between indulgence and mortification. Job recovered everything twofold. The hero's journey always includes the return with the elixir, but many people get stuck in the trial phase. And then they romanticize the struggle, sacralize scarcity, make poverty a spiritual identity. And Jung would say, this isn't transcendence, it's stagnation disguised as virtue. Jordan Peterson enters the car again, this time with a sharp sociological perspective. Peterson studied how political and religious ideologies shape economic behaviors, and he identified something he calls moralization of poverty. It works like this. In societies with high inequality and limited social mobility, the masses develop moral narratives that justify their position. I'm poor, but I'm honest. They're rich, but they're corrupt. Money doesn't bring happiness. The rich won't enter heaven. These narratives serve an important psychological function. They protect the ego from the feeling of failure. Instead of facing the pain of, I could be in a better situation, but I'm not, the person creates a narrative where poverty is a superior moral choice. And then something subtle and devastating happens. The person becomes afraid of wealth, because if they prosper, they'll lose their moral identity. They'll become one of them. They'll betray their values. They'll disappoint their family, their community, maybe even God. Peterson calls this guilt by prosperity, and it's one of the strongest psychological prisons that exist because it's not conscious. The person doesn't think, I'll sabotage my wealth to maintain my moral identity. They simply can't progress without understanding why. And in America, this is even more complex. We have a cultural heritage of Puritan work ethic mixed with prosperity gospel, creating a confusing message. Work hard for money, but don't enjoy it too much, or you'll seem greedy. There's an American saying that sums this up. Money is the root of all evil. But actually, the biblical quote is, the love of money is the root of all evil. See the distortion? Money itself became vilified. And then, unconsciously, to stay good, you need to stay away from money. It's inverted logic, but it's real, and it's operating in millions of American minds right now. Carl Rogers returns to the car with a powerful therapeutic intervention. Rogers would say the first step to escape this trap is to name the belief without judgment. So let's do that now. I'll list some common beliefs, and I want you to observe with radical honesty which ones resonate with you. Rich. People are greedy. Money corrupts. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I don't need much to be happy. People who chase money are empty inside. The meek are the ones who are blessed. Money is the root of all evil. I'd rather be poor and have peace than rich and stressed. Now here's the fire test. Imagine you wake up tomorrow a millionaire, out of nowhere, without effort. It just happened. How do you feel? If the first emotion isn't pure joy, but rather discomfort, fear, guilt, or thoughts like, but I don't deserve this, or what will people think? Congratulations. You just identified your addiction to scarcity disguised as humility. And here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Real humility isn't rejecting abundance. It's recognizing you're a channel for it, not the owner. You can be rich and humble. You can be prosperous and spiritual. You can have much and be generous. In fact, you can only be truly generous when you have abundance to share. There's no virtue in giving what you don't have. That's not generosity, it's disguised self-sacrifice. And God, the universe, the quantum field, whatever name you use, doesn't want you to sacrifice yourself. It wants you to flourish. Because you flourishing inspires others to flourish. Now for this chapter's practical exercise, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Get that paper again and write a letter. But not just any letter. Write a letter from your prosperous version to your current version. Imagine you 5 years from now, living in full abundance, writes to you today. What would that future version say? What advice would they give? What truths do you need to hear now? Write freely, without censorship. Let your abundant version speak, and pay attention to the resistances that arise during writing. Each resistance is a thread of the scarcity web that needs to be cut. Do this before moving forward. It's simple, but powerful. And now, we'll dive into the neuroscience of reprogramming. How you literally rebuild the synapses that maintain the addiction to scarcity. And we're back to the quantum car. If you did the previous exercise, you probably felt something strange writing that letter. Maybe resistance, maybe emotion, maybe even anger. All of this is normal because you're poking a belief system that's been solidified for decades. And now we're going to talk about something that will completely change the game. You can reprogram your brain for abundance. And this isn't a metaphor. It's pure neuroscience. Jordan Peterson returns to the car with a truth few people understand. For decades, science believed the adult brain was fixed. You were born with a certain number of neurons, formed your synapses in childhood, and that was it. You were molded forever. But in the 1990s, they discovered something revolutionary: neuroplasticity. Your brain is like a muscle. It changes physically based on what you practice. If you practice scarcity thoughts, your brain strengthens scarcity neural networks. If you practice abundance thoughts, your brain rebuilds abundance neural networks. Literally. Peterson studied cases of people who suffered strokes and lost the ability to speak. With intensive and repetitive rehabilitation, other areas of the brain took over the language function. New connections formed. The brain reorganized. If this is possible with complex functions like language, it's certainly possible with thought patterns about money. But here's the crucial detail most people don't understand. Neurological change requires three things. 1. Repetition. You need to repeat the new pattern hundreds, thousands of times. An occasional affirmation doesn't work. You're competing against decades of opposite conditioning. 2. Emotional intensity. The brain prioritizes memories and learnings charged with emotion. If your practice is mechanical, without real feeling, it doesn't create deep change. 3. Congruent action. You can think abundance all day, but if your actions scream scarcity, your brain believes the actions, not the thoughts. And this is where most people fail. They want change, but aren't willing to do the tedious repetition. They don't invest the emotional intensity, and they continue acting from the old paradigm. Carl Jung returns to the car to add a deep layer. Jung talked about the individuation process, the path to becoming who you really are instead of who you were, conditioned to be. And he said something important. You don't eliminate the unconscious, you integrate it. So trying to erase your scarcity beliefs is a losing strategy. They'll resist. They'll come back because they're part of your history, your psyche. Instead, you need to dialogue with them, acknowledge them, thank them for the role they played in keeping you safe until now, and then gently introduce a new paradigm. Jung used a technique called active imagination. You personify aspects of your unconscious and dialogue with them. So imagine this. Your voice of scarcity is like an ancient guardian. It protected you during years of real danger. It kept you alert, cautious, alive. But now, you're in different territory, and the guardian needs new instructions. You don't reject it. You promote it. It's no longer the commander. It's the advisor. Its opinion matters, but it no longer dominates. And you introduce a new commander, abundance consciousness. This reprogramming doesn't happen in a day. It's a process, but it's possible. Alan Watts enters the car with an insight that will blow your mind. Watts would say, "You know what's the biggest obstacle to abundance? Trying to achieve it." Wait, what? He would explain with a Zen parable. A monk asks the master, "How do I achieve enlightenment?" And the master responds, "Enlightenment is not something you achieve, it's something you realize was always here." Abundance is the same thing. The universe is abundant. There are more atoms in a single drop of water than stars in the galaxy. There's more energy circulating around you now than you could use in 1,000 lifetimes. Scarcity isn't the natural condition. It's a perceptual illusion. So you don't need to create abundance. You need to stop blocking the natural flow of it. And how do you block? With fear, with control, with the frantic attempt to make it happen. Watts called this The principle of reverse effort. The more you try, the worse it gets. Ever notice that the best opportunities of your life appeared when you weren't desperate? When you were relaxed, open, flowing? That's not coincidence. It's quantum physics. When you're in a state of tension, scarcity frequency, you emit a vibrational signature that repels opportunities. When you're in a state of confident relaxation, abundance frequency, you attract synchronicities. And before you think, oh, more New Age law of attraction talk, let me stop you. Hélio Couto and Dakila researchers documented this scientifically. Brainwave measurement, electromagnetic resonance, cardiac coherence. When you change your internal state, you literally change the electromagnetic field around you. And this field interacts with the larger quantum field. You're not attracting things with magical thinking. You're aligning your vibrational frequency with realities already existing in the quantum field of possibilities. And now we enter the territory where science and spirituality meet. Carl Rogers returns with an important clinical observation. Rogers spent decades observing clients in therapy, and he noticed a pattern. The biggest transformations happened when the person stopped trying to change and started accepting themselves completely. It seems counterintuitive, but it's real. When you fight against yourself, you create internal resistance, and that resistance consumes energy that could be used for growth. When you accept yourself, even with your self-destructive patterns, even with your addiction to scarcity, you create internal space. And in that space, change can happen organically. Rogers called this the actualizing tendency. Every form of life has an innate impulse to grow, to expand, to realize itself. But this impulse can only manifest when there's no internal resistance blocking it. So here's the paradox. You change when you stop trying to change. You thrive when you stop trying to thrive. You simply remove the blocks and let life flow through you. And what are the blocks? Fear, control, limiting beliefs, unconscious loyalties to family paradigms, identity attached to struggle. Remove that, and abundance doesn't need to be sought. It simply happens. Now, this chapter's exercise will connect everything. You're going to do an active neuroplasticity practice, and it has 3 parts. Part 1, sensory anchoring. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. And now, imagine a real memory when you felt abundant. It can be small. It can be a moment when you had exactly what you needed, or gave a gift without thinking about the cost, or received something unexpected. Relive that memory with all senses. What did you see, hear, feel in your body? What emotions were present? Anchor that sensation. Give it a color, a sound, a word. Part 2, reprogramming breath. Inhale for 4 seconds, visualizing golden light entering through the top of your head. Hold for 4 seconds, letting this light fill your entire body. Exhale for 4 seconds, releasing all tension. Fear, scarcity belief. Repeat 10 times. While doing this, mentally repeat, I am a channel of infinite abundance. Part 3, symbolic action. In the next 24 hours, do one action that the abundant version of you would do, but the scarce version wouldn't. It doesn't have to be big. It could be giving a generous tip. It could be buying something you always think is too expensive. It could be investing in something for yourself without guilt. The goal isn't the act itself. It's training your brain to act from abundance, not scarcity. Do this. Seriously. Change doesn't come from intellectual understanding. It comes from practicing a new pattern until it becomes automatic. And if you want an even deeper dive into this neurological reprogramming, I've prepared a complete protocol with advanced quantum neuroplasticity techniques. It's in the link in this video's description. But before you go, let me give you a teaser of the next chapter. We're going to explore something nobody talks about: financial survivor's guilt. Why some people sabotage their own prosperity to not betray their family, their origin, their community. It's deep, it's painful, and it's exactly what's keeping you stuck. Let's go to another part of journey. If you're here, it means you're willing to go deep. And this chapter will touch on something most people prefer to ignore. The truth is, you can know everything about manifestation, about neuroscience, about quantum physics. But if you have an unconscious loyalty to poverty, none of it will work. And this loyalty is more common than you imagine. Carl Jung returns to the car to open this chapter with a concept he studied deeply: systemic loyalty. Jung realized that families function as psychic systems. There are unspoken rules, established roles, and there's balance, even if it's dysfunctional balance. And when a member of the system tries to change, the system reacts, because change threatens the known balance. So imagine this. You come from a family where everyone has always been poor. Your parents, grandparents, uncles, everyone struggled, everyone suffered, everyone made do however they could. And now you're starting to prosper. What happens? If your family is emotionally healthy, they'll celebrate. But let's be honest, how many families are emotionally healthy? More commonly, subtle comments arise. You're getting cocky. Don't forget where you came from. Money changes people. I hope you don't become one of those. And this creates brutal internal tension, because deep down, you love your family. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to be seen as the traitor who left the tribe behind. So you sabotage your own prosperity to maintain belonging. Jung called this unconscious bargaining. You trade success for tribal acceptance. And the worst part is, you don't even realize you're doing it. You just can't keep money. An emergency always arises. Someone always needs help. There's always a reason to return to the state of difficulty, and thus you maintain loyalty to the family system, even if it destroys you. Jordan Peterson enters the car with data that will make you rethink everything. Peterson studied social dominance hierarchies in humans and animals, and he discovered something fascinating. Our brain is wired not to surpass our tribe. In primitive tribes, if someone accumulated too many resources, they were seen as a threat. And the tribe dealt with this in two ways: exile or forced redistribution. So there's a deep psychological mechanism that says, don't get too far above your own. That's dangerous. And this mechanism is still active in you. Even if rationally you know there's no real danger today, your reptilian brain doesn't know that. It only knows that different from the tribe and risk of death. Peterson cites studies with lottery winners. A frightening percentage of them return to poverty within a few years. And the number one reason: social pressure from family and friends. Constant requests for money, expectations of now you can help, silent resentment, social isolation, and then the person, consciously or unconsciously, destroys the wealth to return to the group. Because at the end of the day, humans need connection more than money. And if the unconscious choice is isolated wealth or connected poverty, most choose connection. Now, Alan Watts enters the car with a perspective that will blow your mind. Watts would say, if real wealth isn't having more money, but not needing others' approval to feel whole? Think about it. Loyalty to poverty is at its core emotional dependence. You're outsourcing your internal security to external approval. And as long as you do this, you'll never be free. Not in poverty, not in wealth. Because you'll always be at the mercy of what others think of you. Watts spent his life teaching about non-attachment. And he would say, the problem isn't your family criticizing you. The problem is you needing them not to criticize. When you're rooted in your own truth, others' opinions are just information, not definition. They can disapprove, and that's okay. You can love them, respect their opinions, and still follow your path. But this requires something most people don't have: emotional autonomy. And here's the hard truth: you can't have real abundance without emotional autonomy. because abundance will expose you. It will reveal who really loves you for who you are and who kept you around for what you offered. And many people prefer comfortable poverty to revealing wealth. Carl Rogers returns to the car to offer a healing perspective. Rogers worked with clients who had exactly this conflict, and he used an approach he called unconditional positive regard. It works like this. You learn to give yourself what you always hope to receive from others. You become your own loving father, your own nurturing mother, your own best friend. And when you fill that internal void, others' opinions lose the power to control you. You can thrive without betraying your essence, because your essence isn't the poor person in the family. Your essence is the consciousness that came here to expand. And when you thrive, you're not betraying anyone. You're honoring your potential. But let me give you a practical example of how this manifests. I know a woman, let's call her Martha. Martha was the first in her family to go to college, the first to get a corporate job, the first to earn well. And you know what happened? Her mother started calling every week with a financial emergency. They weren't real emergencies. They were unconscious tests. Let's see if she's still one of us. And Martha found herself in brutal conflict. She wanted to help, but she realized the more she helped, the more requests appeared. There was no end. And she had to make the hardest choice of her life, set boundaries. She told her mother, "I love you, and I'll help you in a planned way, X dollars per month. But I can't respond to every emergency because it's preventing me from building my own security." And her mother was hurt. Other family members criticized her, said she was getting uppity, and Martha had to endure the pain of tribal disapproval to maintain her financial integrity. And you know what happened after a year? The family adjusted. They stopped asking, and they started respecting her in a new way, because she demonstrated something crucial. I love you, but I won't self-sabotage to please you. And this paradoxically strengthened the bonds, because now they were based on real respect, not dysfunctional dependence. But this journey was painful, and most people aren't willing to go through that pain. So they choose invisible loyalty and remain trapped. Now this chapter's exercise will confront you. Get paper and pen and write, "If I truly prosper, I will betray." Complete this sentence 10 times, without filter. Let the unconscious speak. It could be, "If I truly prosper, I will betray my father who was always poor." It could be, "If I truly prosper, I will betray my childhood friends." It could be, "If I truly prosper, I will betray the values I was taught." Don't judge, don't censor, just write. And then read what you wrote out loud. Because when you give voice to the unconscious, it loses the power to control you silently. And then, for each sentence, write a conscious response. My father loves me and wants me to be happy, even if he doesn't know how to express it. My true friends will celebrate my success, not resent it. The real values I was taught include work, dignity, and realized potential. Do this. It's simple, but will move internal mountains. And in the next chapter, the final chapter, we go to the complete protocol, the practical map to dismantle the addiction to scarcity once and for all. It's intense, it's complete, and it's exactly what you need. And we arrive at the final car. If you've made it this far, you already understand the addiction to scarcity. You've already recognized the spiritual masks of poverty. You've already seen your neurology reorganizing. You've already confronted your invisible loyalties. Now it's time for the complete protocol, the practical path to dismantle scarcity and install abundance as your new default operating system. And I'm going to deliver this in a format you can use every day. But first, let me warn you, this isn't a shortcut. It's not instant magic. It's a deep reprogramming protocol that requires dedication. And if you follow it faithfully for 90 days, your financial reality will change. Not by luck, by quantum reorganization. Let's begin. Phase 1. Mapping the addiction. Days 1-7. During the first week, you'll only observe. Every time you think about money, write it down. Every time you make a financial decision, write it down. Every time you feel anxiety about resources, write it down. You'll map your scarcity pattern without trying to change it yet. Why? Because you can't reprogram what you don't understand. Carl Rogers is here in the car to emphasize acceptance precedes change. You need to clearly see what is before transforming it into what can be. So get a notebook, and for 7 days, observe and record. What automatic thoughts arise when you look at your bank account? What physical sensations appear when you need to spend money? What stories do you tell yourself about why it never works out? Don't judge. Just document. Phase 2. Identifying the roots. Days 8-14. In the second week, you'll dive into the origins. Take the notes from the previous week and look for patterns, and then ask these questions. Where did I learn this? From whom did I first hear this? What event in my life crystallized this belief? What was the moment when I decided, even unconsciously, that the world is scarce? Carl Jung is here to remind you, the unconscious speaks through symbols and emotional memories. So don't look for logic, look for feeling. It could be a memory of seeing your parents fighting about money. It could be a Christmas when you didn't get the gift you wanted. It could be a phrase a teacher said. Identify the root moment. And then write, when I was X years old, I decided that limiting belief. But now, with adult consciousness, I recognize this was a childish interpretation of a situation I had no power to change. That doesn't define my reality today. Do this for each identified belief. Phase 3. Installing. The new paradigm. Days 15-45. Now begins the heavy work, and this is where 90% of people quit because it requires daily repetition. You'll create a daily reprogramming routine, and it has 5 parts. Part 1. Morning ritual, 5 minutes. As soon as you wake up, before grabbing your phone, take 3 deep breaths, and then declare out loud, I am a channel of infinite abundance. The universe conspires in my favor. I deserve to prosper, and my prosperity benefits everyone around me. Say this with feeling, not like a robot, as if you're reminding your nervous system of a forgotten truth. Part 2. Quantum visualization, 10 minutes. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and imagine your prosperous version. Not just the money, but the state of being of that version. How does it walk? How does it talk? How does it handle challenges? And here's the secret. Don't visualize from outside. Visualize from within. You're not watching a movie. You're being that person. Feel the sensations in the body, the lightness, the confidence, the spontaneous gratitude. And while feeling this, breathe deeply. You're installing this frequency in your nervous system. Part 3. Conscious action during the day. With each financial decision of the day, stop for 5 seconds and ask, is this decision coming from scarcity or abundance? If it's from scarcity, fear, control, anxiety, consciously choose to do differently. It doesn't have to be radical. It can be small, but it has to be congruent with abundance. Jordan Peterson is here to remind you, your brain believes actions, not intentions. So act abundantly, even on a small scale. Part 4. Financial gratitude, afternoon. At 6 p.m. every day, stop and list 10 things related to money you're grateful for. I'm grateful I could pay for lunch today. I'm grateful I received my salary. I'm grateful I have money to buy a birthday gift for someone. Gratitude is the highest vibrational frequency. And when you practice financial gratitude, you train your brain to see abundance where before it only saw lack. Part 5. Nightly review, 5 minutes. Before bed, review the day. What moments did you act from scarcity? Without judgment, just observe. What moments did you act from abundance? Celebrate, and then declare, today I took one more step to align with the frequency of abundance. and tomorrow I take the next. I trust the process. Do this religiously for 30 days, without fail, because you're reprogramming decades of conditioning. Phase 4, expanding the set point. Days 46 to 75. Now you'll start expanding your financial comfort zone. Alan Watts is here to remind you, the ego resists the new, so you need to expand gently, not aggressively. Choose a number, an amount that makes you a little uncomfortable, but not terrified. If you normally spend $50 on a gift, choose to spend $100 on the next one. If you normally save $200 a month, choose to save $300. The goal isn't the amount itself. It's training your nervous system to feel comfortable at a new level. And every time you do this, pay attention to the emotions that arise. Discomfort, fear, guilt, breathe through it. Don't fight it, just observe and let it pass. You're teaching your nervous system that more isn't dangerous, and every 2 weeks increase the set point a little more. Phase 5, anchoring the new identity, days 76-90. In the last 15 days, you'll solidify the new identity. You're no longer the person trying to prosper. You are prosperous now, and the proof isn't the amount of money in your account. It's your internal state. Do you trust? Do you flow? Do you act from abundance, even when the external numbers don't fully reflect it yet? If yes, you've reprogrammed. And now the external results will start aligning, not because you forced it, but because you became a different vibrational frequency, and the universe responds to frequencies, not pleas. Now, the killer exercise of this final chapter. You're going to write your quantum contract. Get a special sheet of paper, not the notes notebook, a clean, beautiful sheet, and write, I, your full name, in full consciousness and free will, declare that I choose the frequency of abundance as my natural state of being. I acknowledge that until now I operated from scarcity, and I thank that frequency for keeping me safe. But now, I choose differently. I commit to acting, thinking, and feeling from abundance, even when my ego resists. I trust that the universe supports my decision and conspires in my favor, and I declare that my prosperity benefits not only me, but everyone who crosses my path. Signed on, today's date. Sign it, and place this sheet somewhere you'll see it every day. This is your quantum contract, your commitment to the new reality. And now, the final mantra. Whenever you feel scarcity trying to come back, whenever fear tightens, whenever doubt screams, repeat, I am abundance, I am flow, I am manifested prosperity. Repeat out loud, repeat mentally, repeat, until you feel the nervous system relax. And remember, the addiction to scarcity doesn't disappear overnight. But every day you practice this protocol, it loses a little strength, and you gain a little more freedom. If you want complete support on this journey, I've created exclusive material with guided meditations, advanced reprogramming protocols, and a community of people going through the same transformation. The link is in the description, and it's an investment in you, in the version of you that already knows you deserve to prosper. But whether or not you access the material, the most important thing is start. Start today, not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. Because every day you postpone is another day strengthening the old addiction. And you didn't make it to the end of this video by accident. You know that. So honor the calling and take the first step. I'm the quantum architect, and you didn't get here by accident.